The gender stuff starts so young.
Yeah.
Just, my wife and I we were really deliberate in terms of not putting our daughter in pinks and purples, kind of earthy tones, very Brighton. And then there's just this point in sort of early years education where suddenly we were seeing pictures whereby all the girls are dressed as princesses and the boys are dressed as firemen. I was like, they're 3.
Yeah.
Like, how are we establishing gender norms that shouldn't be at 3?
Hello and welcome to Women in the Driving Seat, where we take the time to shine a spotlight on the wonderful women in automotive. This week, we're going to be talking about women in a man's world. And yes, that is a provocative title. I'm joined by Karen Hilton, Managing Director at British Airways. This just says at British Airways. Is that what we're saying? Or are we saying British Airways?
You should probably say Euroflyer.
Yeah. And Amrit, Kaur, staff writer on the Bauer Media Digital Automotive Hub. First, guest bios. Karen, or Hiltz, because who really wants to be called Karen these days? Her words, not mine, is a proud generalist who has built a career in corporate startup and scale-up businesses. Having crafted a career in automotive and tech startups, she recently jumped wing to aviation, leading BA's subsidiary airline Euroflyer. She lives in Brighton with her wife and daughter and is a self-diagnosed fitness junkie. Returning to the corporate world after a 10-year break, she is still passionate about people-led businesses, is experienced in what it's like moving from one male-led industry to another, and has nailed the reason to get up at 5:30 a.m. most days. An EV convert that still looks at pictures of her GTI to reminisce, Karen has plenty of thoughts on the automotive industry, what it's like joining a new industry in an MD position, and what she hopes the world of work looks like for her daughter, who was born on International Women's Day. I like it. Amrit is a staff writer on the Bauer Media Digital Automotive Hub, writing for both car and sister site Parkers. Despite graduating with a degree in mechanical engineering and spending 8 years teaching, she's now decided to pursue what she always wanted to do and become a motoring journalist. After studying for a master's in automotive journalism, she landed her first job with Bauer. Amrit was born and raised in the Black Country by her dad, who sparked her love of cars. She knew early on her career had to be something to do with cars, but often wondered where the other girls were. So now she's on a bit of a mission to change that and hopes to welcome more women and non-car guys to the car world by any means necessary. Outside of work, she loves cooking and trying new food, travelling, going to gigs, and being a wedding photographer. My goodness, so much to talk about. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here today. Okay, let's delve in. Karen, what plates have you been spinning and what balls have you been dropping this week?
Tricky week this week. So my daughter started reception.
This is September podcast. Everyone's got back to school stories.
So juggling kind of that first week of reception where they basically go for sort of 70 minutes a day as part of the settling period. My wife runs her own business, so we're kind of both doing the juggle of trying to not miss this week, which is really important because you can't do it again. Yeah. And then, I guess from a work point of view, a lot of people think, kids have gone back to school, must be really quiet at Gatwick now. But it's not, because children go back to school, we then get all the families with babies that aren't school age. They all want to go away that week
because it's cheaper.
And then there's a bit of a late surge of the retirees at the back end of September.
Yes.
Once all the children have disappeared to wherever they go. Yeah. So I guess it doesn't get quieter until probably first week of October, and then we have a small brief hiatus until October half term. So balancing kind of busy operation, getting back to school, and kind of that constant juggle of I want to be really present everywhere, and just knowing where you need to make the compromises, right? Because you can't be everything to everyone.
No, much as we might wish to be, or not actually.
Yeah.
Amrit, what about you? What have you been up to?
I'm thankfully not going back to school in teaching. I made it out. So I've just started my new job. So I am spinning many plates and learning so much stuff, and I'm trying to keep up with everyone. But one of the weird things is we took a car out for photography, and I was driving a Land Cruiser, which is an experience in itself, and I was at the wheel going, this is my job now. I can't believe it.
In a good way.
Yeah. What a crazy but cool job. And then we had third week on the job, we had the Bauer Media 150th birthday. So we had David Guetta and Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I'm just like,
Wow.
Oh my god.
wow, what a cool way to start.
Yeah, this is not every day in automotive.
I know, but I had that impression, so I'm just going to keep it. Right now, I'm like up here.
Oh, well, let's keep you up there.
Yeah.
Let's hope this podcast isn't the start of the descent into some sort of career depression. Karen, I've got to ask, you've escaped the automotive industry. I don't know whether to say congratulations or not. But tell us a bit about why. And
So it's my second escape.
Okay.
The first one only lasted 6 months. The second one's lasted 9 so far. So
Okay.
I'm slightly more confident this time round. I'd sort of spent 20 years, which, has gone incredibly quickly. But, I think we probably all have this moment, but I was approaching 40. I'd spent a large kind of section of my career in an industry. And I wasn't bored, but I was a bit tired. And it's quite cyclical by nature. And I was like, have I really got the kind of gumption, the passion to kind of do another 20 or 40 or however long we're going to work for these days. And I was just like, I think I just need a new challenge. So
okay,
I found it.
and so explain BA Euroflyer and what your role entails.
So it's a subsidiary business of British Airways. So we do all of the kind of short haul operations out of London Gatwick. So all the European flying, bit of North Africa. About 1,200 people, including kind of flight crew and cabin crew, 25 planes. And, on a busy day, we'll see 12,000 passengers go through.
Right.
So effectively, my role is accountable for everything from the point that you book your ticket online right through to the person that greets you at check-in, to the captain that does the announcement, and the team that meet you in Malaga or Algiers or wherever you're kind of landing. So
The
it's
kind of entire consumer experience with BA Euroflyer.
yeah. So yeah, and it's constant, and
Yeah.
we always have planes in the sky. So it's really interesting when you kind of talk about the flexibility of work. It doesn't really matter when you're working because there's a plane in the sky.
Yeah.
So it's big, it's gnarly, it's operational, and it's quite peaky. So, we're a seasonal leisure business. So pretty much from May half term through to October half term, we are on, and it's constant.
And you're MD, so does that mean you've got to be a people person as well for the people in your business? Got a lot of reports?
Yeah, I mean, it is my brain works in a way where I just have to simplify things down to kind of the simplest piece. And my job is people and planes. So the planes need to be working, they need to be serviced, they need to be engineered, they need to be maintained. And then the people that are getting on them to meet our customers, greet them, need to be kind of clear on what they're doing, where they're going, and why they're doing it. So it's a service industry, so it's a people business. And it's only 3.5 years old. So it's still kind of probably in that sort of like teenage growing pains piece where, we're stabilising out, we're maturing for the next kind of like round of growth. But it's constant.
Okay, and are you seeing... I hear you when you say you haven't been in there as half as long as you were in automotive, but are you already seeing where there are similarities or differences between automotive and aviation, beyond them both being forms of transport?
Yeah, there's massive kind of overlap. So, you've got both industries trying to fulfil their kind of carbon and climate objectives, which is transformational, which requires investment and some, I'd say at the moment we probably want to run faster than the infrastructure is set up for, which is not that dissimilar to where we've been with EV for a number of years. You've got, automotive is still, I believe, I don't think it's changed that much in the 2 years that I've been out, largely kind of male heavy at the top.
That definitely hasn't changed.
Airlines kind of look and feel the same. So there's loads and loads of crossover. I guess the difference is probably just the pace. So, whilst automotive kind of works on a 2 registration cycle and your kind of natural cycles, aviation it's on all day, every day. The pace is quicker.
Yeah. Interesting. Speaking of men and women and the disparity between the number employed in automotive, Amrit, coming on to you, I'm obviously very excited to have you on because you and I are here as 2 female automotive journalists in the same room, which is never seen.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've come out of Coventry University MA course in automotive journalism, which is, there is no other one in the world. So the result of that is that we just have, out of about 250 motoring journalists in the UK, there are fewer than 10 that are women.
Wow.
And you set that off against the fact that women are 51% of the population, 46% of driver licence holders, 41% of registered keepers of cars. There's an obvious disparity. So I'm excited to have you here. What the hell do you think is going wrong? And how do we fix it, Amrit? Let's just give you that.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think so having a look at that Coventry University course, like it being the only one, that's a thing. Like, why aren't there any more courses around? And I was lucky enough to be able to quit my job and then go and do that as a master's and retrain. But, I mean, you ask the kids at school, because I was teaching for 8 years, they don't know what automotive journalism is. They didn't know what mechanical engineering was either, and I was trained in that too. And I think we need to get to them. Also, with cars, like, if you want to get kids interested, because I think you have to start young, if you want to get kids interested, I mean, cars are expensive. So how can you develop an interest in something that is just something that's just totally out of your reach? Like, even when you're a young person, like, even if you're a young person, you learn to drive and stuff, if you want to do a track day and really have a great time, it's £200 for like 3 laps. People just don't have that. So I think there needs to be ways where young people have the chance to actually engage with anything automotive. It doesn't have to be journalism. It just could be anything automotive. So then we can mix it up a bit, because it's just the same people over and over again.
I mean, you couldn't be more right about... I go into City and Cardiff University sometimes to talk to the students there on the MA journalism course, not automotive journalism, but just journalism course. And I always say, can I just have the women on your course in a room? And I corner them and I say, hands up, anyone who's interested in motoring journalism. Not a single hand goes up. And when I say why, and they're like, well, I don't want to be in overalls underneath a car getting oily every day. And it's still just got this idea of kind of mechanic, and that is as far as their perception of the entire industry takes them. And as soon as I say, well, I write for Vogue and we talk about sustainability stuff here at Auto Trade, and we do podcasts and we do this and we do that. Oh, right. So it could be a bit broadcasty. It could be a bit cool. So you're 100% right. But you talk about we need to talk younger than that, and I agree with you. I mean, how young do you think we need to go?
Well, you're made to choose your options for GCSE when you're 13 or 14. And what do you know when you're 13 or 14? And I think it's interesting just go, I think secondary would be a perfect place to go, because I think that careers in general at schools is fairly narrow, and it's usually like, right, you need to do your GCSEs, then you need to do your A-levels or go on like an apprenticeship or something, then you can go to uni or go to work. And there's not much in terms of, actually there's other stuff out there that you can do. It's always kind of usually just down the academic route and things like that. And, I think that if we get them while they're young, and I think that's the way forward to go with it, because I think kids can get all sorts of ideas when they're young. It's just that we don't give them any of those ideas. We just go, this is the route, then you go to work, and that's your life now.
And the gender stuff starts so young. Just, my wife and I we were really deliberate in terms of not putting our daughter in pinks and purples, kind of earthy tones, very Brighton. And then there's just this point in sort of early years education where suddenly we were seeing pictures whereby all the girls are dressed as princesses and the boys are dressed as firemen. I was like, they're 3. Like, how are we establishing gender norms that shouldn't be at 3? And then and then we look at kind of GCSE options like, well, why is no one interested in STEM? I was like, well, maybe because from such an early age they've kind of got aspirations of Kate Middleton, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so I did STEM stuff at school, and STEAM actually, so I included the arts, and I was leading on that. So I did like assemblies, and we had days where kids could do careers and stuff like that. But I think it would be useful to let's get the girls to go and have a look at what STEM is by themselves, because they don't want to put their hand up and say, oh, actually, I do find that quite interesting, because the girls might be like, and the boys as well, like,
I mean,
why
this is a really thorny issue about segmenting and targeting a certain gender at any point. I get a load of pushback in career stuff when I say we've got to create pipelines that are female only, because if we just put out a gender neutral ad, we know we only get men applying.
Yeah.
And so in order to get to a gender neutral point in society and the automotive industry, which is all anyone wants, my feeling is you've got to push the dial positively towards women at the moment. Otherwise and I get a lot of pushback from OEMs and car brands and HR departments saying, no, you can't do that. And also, hey, we just want the best person for the job. As if I don't want the best person for the job by reaching out to women.
Yeah.
And to your point, at schools, I think we have to pull the girls aside
we do,
and give them a STEM day.
It's just that they find it a bit scary to go and talk about that stuff in front of all of your boys and stuff like that. So I think we do need to target them, and absolutely right. I think that, put it towards them first. Let's give them a chance to go and then we can actually start finding a balance. Because as we have been doing for years and years and since forever, we've not done that, and then the result is we don't have any women in the industry.
Give us a quick overview of what the course is for the Masters, because I'm intrigued. I'm going in to talk to them next month,
cool.
November. So give us a quick overview.
I mean, so a lot of us hadn't even been in like a journalism background or anything like that. We've gone onto the course, so they trained us in like kind of more general journalism. We did a little bit on we did like part of it, of course, on automotive, but we also did things like doing podcasts, filming, going out and learning how to edit packages and TV packages and things like that. We did how do you write for online content. We did a little bit of SEO. So it was like we did a lot. We covered a lot, but which is really, really cool. But we couldn't kind of go down and get really, really good at it. But I suppose that's what you do when you start working on it. But it was really cool that we had such a big, wide kind of curriculum, I suppose.
Great. It's already time for podcast pit stop. Here we go. Quick fire round. Karen, you're up first. Are you ready?
Yes.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Planes or cars?
Planes.
Business class or premium economy?
Business class.
Is it acceptable to put your seat back on a flight?
If everyone else is yes.
CEO or MD?
Just don't care. Irrelevant.
CarWow or Auto Trader? Be careful. No debating. Where are you today, Karen?
But I'm a shareholder in the other one.
Well, okay, we'll have to let you freaking sit on the fence. We might end up editing that one out, to be honest. London or Leeds?
London.
Okay. Amrit, journalist or influencer?
Journalist.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Cocktail or mocktail?
Cocktail.
Writing or video?
Ooh, I want to do video, but
Cinema or disco?
Disco.
Winter wedding or summer wedding?
Summer. Absolutely summer.
Great. Back in we go. Karen, sustainability. You touched on it earlier. I mean, we could do a series and not reach the bottom of this subject. But it feels to me, I mean, automotive and aviation are both challenged around sustainability as industries, products, brands, business models. But it feels like there are no obvious answers for aviation yet.
I think there are answers, and I think lots of people are on the path to it. I think you just need to bear in mind the size and the scale of things.
So what sort of things are we talking about?
And there's a lot of crossover with automotive in this space. So there is newer technology in planes. So the newer planes are more fuel efficient. They emit less carbon. We're also talking about things that are hundreds of millions of pounds to buy. Yeah. And we're still struggling with the kind of post-COVID shortage of supply, which means there's a lot of people waiting for new fleets of planes to arrive.
Right.
So new fleet is one of them. Sustainable aviation fuel is another. So actually changing the mix of fuel that we use in the aircraft. But again, kind of to the EV kind of crossover piece, it's expensive. So it's a commitment for businesses to make to say, actually, we are committed to our kind of carbon zero plan here, and we know that that's kind of probably negative to the kind of bottom line. But there's not enough of it. So there is a desire for all airlines to start uplifting more SAF fuel, but we at the other end of the scale, the infrastructure and the kind of creation of it isn't quite up to kind of meeting demand yet. So it's not dissimilar to EV in terms of I think probably from a consumer mindset point of view, because sustainability is built into most of kind of corporate organisations now, there's definitely a pull for the consumer in terms of business travel, etc. I want to know that I'm travelling with an airline that is investing in sustainability. So I think probably the consumer pull is a bit greater than, you know, what has felt like a push for EV for a long period of time. Yeah. But we're just at the point now where, you know, we need new planes to come in that are more fuel efficient. I guess the other thing is, you know, densifying things, which is, you know, from a BA point of view, we have a very premium customer. So we have a high mix of first and business class. Obviously, the most fuel efficient, the most carbon efficient way to run a plane is to just fill it with as many seats as you can do. So there's that kind of balance between what do consumers actually want and how do you deliver it.
Oh my God, I might have to scrap business class. Amrit, throwing sustainability in your direction, is it a theme, a topic that's covered in the course at Coventry at all? Do you touch on it?
Yeah, I mean, because we get to kind of choose what we cover. So sustainability, we do a lot of writing for news, and of course it's in the news all the time. But I mean, when we talk about it on the course, we're talking about usually a particular car or how. Yeah, so it's not the major topic. I guess they're just trying to get us journalists trained and media, things like that. But yeah, I would say it's not a major component of it.
I'm always struck by how few motoring journalists are putting OEMs or retailer groups actually under the spotlight and saying things like, you can no longer lead a press release for a new car on the fact that 18% of the foot mat is recycled fishing nets. You know, we need to have serious conversations around sustainability. And I don't, you know, I mean, is this me gender stereotyping? Because I keep thinking that's a great way to talk to women about automotive journalism because I get the sense they're more interested in sustainability journalism maybe than they are around how does a car handle, and maybe that's me now being sexist.
No, I think that's right, because we need to broaden the topics. Automotive isn't just about performance and, you know, how it handles and all of that stuff. If you want women to get involved, then we need to go, okay, what about cars in lifestyle? What about cars as part of how you, like, literally, like how you live and all the other issues surrounding it, like sustainability? If you broaden that, then you're going to get a wider audience. Yeah. If we just keep it as this is how it handles and this is the power it makes, and then we're not going to see women interested, I don't think. I think we need to start mixing it and start crossing lines instead of pigeonholing things.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's just any time you approach gender with this sort of stuff, it gets into the weeds very quickly, doesn't it? And people are so keen to jump on what you said and pick you up on it. But what were your favourite bits of the course then? What did you really enjoy?
I really enjoyed, I mean, it was cool just being in a room with people that like cars too, because there's not many people that do. And I suppose, like, when we did filming and things like that, that's right up my street because I do photography and I really wanted to get into filming and things like that. But actually building a portfolio, because when I was working as a teacher, there's just no way I would have been able to do that. So one of my favourite things and the greatest thing that I got out of the course is building that portfolio to actually secure a job, because I didn't believe that I could have got a job in journalism had I not gone on that course. Because a maths teacher going, can I have a job in automotive journalism, please, doesn't quite work, especially when it's so competitive as well. So, and I needed I needed journalism training. I definitely need that. So yeah, getting that out of the course, a portfolio, being properly trained and managing to get a job is a win.
It certainly is. Did you do the old school stuff like legal and shorthand, or is that all gone?
We don't do shorthand. We do things like legal stuff and libel and all of that stuff. So yeah, we got trained in all that. But yeah.
Were there any other girls on the course with you?
Yeah, one girl, one woman. And
out of how many?
There was 11 of us on the course, but from all over the world as well. And she was from the Netherlands. She was like really into Formula One. Motorsport was her thing rather than road cars. But yeah, there was just one.
I've got a feeling she's messaged me on LinkedIn now. You've just might have. Bringing back memories. Fascinating. Thank you. Karen, you went straight back in, unless I'm reading this wrong, into a new industry as MD.
Yeah.
Was that must have presented challenges.
Yeah, I mean, there's a funny story around it, which was so I'd left Automotive. We'd gone travelling around Australia and Malaysia for 3 months.
Nice.
Because we wanted to do that before my daughter started school.
That's cool.
We were in Bondi in Australia. I think my wife had our daughter for the day, and I sort of went back at dinner and I was just like, I applied for a job today. I was like, yeah, there's a managing director role for BA at Gatwick. And my wife, who is generally my biggest supporter, was like, that's nice. Kind of like, I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it's, run a P&L, lead a team. She went, but it's an airline, you know.
I was going to say, sorry, just to stop there. So, yeah, what made you apply for that job and think you could do it? Because I love that, right? Because that's what women normally don't do. They normally talk themselves out of something when they look at the job description.
Yeah.
But you saw P&L, manage P&L.
Yeah, and this is where I think sometimes my really simplistic brain helps, because it was like, well, it's a business.
Right.
It's going to have people. It's going to need to make money, manage costs, and do some other stuff.
Okay.
And I sort of looked at it and went, well, planes, cars, and I do, and this isn't built in arrogance. This is built in like plain stupidity mainly. It's just kind of like, well, how hard can it be?
Let's call it optimism.
Yeah. I've run some other businesses. This one, the P&L look different, but the things will be the same. There'll be a team of people that need to kind of march towards your vision of delivering something. And it worked out, so that was good.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, I just, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to challenge my brain and kind of do something that was going to force me into a place of not being comfortable. And I also just wanted to be close to home. I'd spent 10 years commuting from Brighton into the city on a cold, late train, and sort of wanted to get one of those normal jobs where kind of, you kind of take your packed lunch and you get in your car and then sort of 20 minutes later you're at work. I've never done that. And I think the only way you can do it if you're going into a new industry at a senior level is you just have to be curious and you just have to be willing to be vulnerable and say, I'm not going to know. And also AI has been so useful. Really? So my favourite prompt in any large language model is ELI5, explain like I'm 5. So I will sit in a meeting about, I don't know, something to do with flight data reporting where lots of people are talking in acronyms, probably mainly men, and I will be typing furiously, kind of like, explain like I'm 5. What does this mean? What does this mean? And and you kind of get like, oh, okay, fine, I understand that broadly, conceptually. Okay, fine, I'm back in the room. That
is good. Great hack.
Yeah, so and I can also see, I'm sure when I'm helping my daughter with her homework in years to come, when we're quadratic equations, it'll be the same thing. But AI as a kind of educator, massively helpful.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Because if you line on quadratic equations.
But if you go back, so I started in Automotive 25, 26 years ago, and I suppose the literal version of that, the physical version of that for me was just, it's fake it till you make it, right? So mine was just, limited slip differentials, yeah, just repeat it back out, and then later go back and look it up in some encyclopedia. I'm not even sure we had the internet, but it's the same theory, isn't it? Yeah. Like, just keep nodding, keep smiling, keep talking.
Yeah.
And paddle frantically underwater till you've got it.
And not be afraid to sort of go, can we do that bit earlier on that we were talking about 10 minutes ago that I've now Googled and have questions on? Can we just go back to it for a minute?
Yes.
That's right.
Because I'm not quite clear.
Yes.
And I think one of those, and you see it in rooms all over the place in any industry, lots of people nodding. And there's always generally one brave person in the room that says, are we all understanding this? And people are like, no. we're just all nodding.
Yes, you're quite right. That's brilliant. And going back to your bio, you've got a mixture of startup, scale up, corporate. For you, what's been more enjoyable? I'm sensing maybe, in a way, not corporate. You strike me as a real kind of startup person. You're fizzing with energy.
Yeah, I think what I'm enjoying at the moment is having been in the kind of highly autonomous startup place, but where the drive is really strong, taking that into a business that is, British Airways is a 100-year-old brand, but the business I'm running is 3.5 years old.
Yeah,
so
interesting mix.
So it's a really nice, so I can bring the agility of startup world to Euroflyer, knowing that, there is this kind of safe comfort of kind of big brother up the road. Yeah. And I quite like being the protagonist and poking and asking. And, and one of the questions that I often ask in the business is, why do we do it that way? And if someone says to me, because it's the BA way, I'm like, right.
Why?
It's not really an answer, is
And sometimes there's a totally logical reason as to why we do something. And sometimes, you just need to push people to go, but is there a better way? Is there a different way? Is there a more modern, tech-enabled way that we can now do these things?
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of, I get my kind of fun finding the efficiencies and kind of, pushing and coaching the team to say, yeah, but if you were living in a world that wasn't constrained, what would you do? What would you do if it was your own company and your own money? And then suddenly you see the lights come on and they say something completely different. I was like, well, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah. What about the gender employment split in aviation? You got any idea?
It's, I think, getting better.
Is it as bad as automotive?
I think you see similar traits at the top. I guess you've also got an industry where, a lot of senior leadership are also pilots, and in the pilot community you've got a heavy gender split to males, so that kind of feeds that.
I know. I still was on a long haul flight last month, back from somewhere in Africa, and with BA, and it was a female pilot, and you could see everyone go, she knows how to fly a plane.
No.
Good job she don't have to park it.
Oh God.
Grinds my gears. But I think if you think of, the biggest community in any airline is your cabin crew. And actually there you see a really happy gender mix. You're nearly kind of 50-50. So I think, same as any organisation, more to do at the top. But I think sometimes the flexibility of the fact that it is a 24/7 business creates some opportunity for different genders to play different roles in different places.
Amrit, I've got to just touch on AI because we were just talking about it. Did you use it much on the course? Is it what are people saying about it?
It's really tempting and very easy to go and use it, but I did want to be a good writer and journalist, so I think that's really important because you can just tell when someone, let's say someone submits a piece that's AI, it just doesn't read like a person. It mimics human, but it's not human at all, and it stinks of AI. What's worrying is that eventually it will feel and read like a human.
Does commentary address it on the course?
So it is. So like in your assignments and things, they tell you kind of the levels of it that you can use. But it gets like if you submit something, it would get picked up like really quickly if it's been used for AI. Like if you use it as a tool, like I've personally used it to help me like to give me some prompts about how to think about something, because sometimes you look at a blank page and you go, okay, where do I start? And I've used it for, okay, ask me some questions about this particular topic, and then I can go, okay, now I have some ideas, now I can start writing. And I think that's a really cool one because it's almost like you just want to riff with someone in the room, like, but if you're just by yourself at your desk and you're like, oh God, what am I going to say? Then I've used that. I've also used AI in when I've recorded interviews. So when I've interviewed someone who had like a 20-minute interview, I've used AI where it does the transcript and it might give you some notes and some chapters and just break it down instead of you manually going, oh, quick, write it down. And also I'm just rubbish at writing notes whilst I'm talking to someone. So
see, you
that's
should
really
have done
good.
shorthand in the
I
notes.
know,
That's what I'm
but we've
saying.
got recorders and AI now, that can do that.
Don't need shorthand.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I would use it for. I cannot use it to write my own stuff because I'm just like, I'm not skilling myself up. I'm just using a robot to do it. And
yeah, I hear. Right, well, we're almost out of time. It's time for life lessons. Come on, Karen, give us something profound.
Life lessons.
Yeah, give me a life lesson. What have you learned from your automotive and aviation careers? I mean, I love what you just said about being in a room, a way to get around if you're not understanding something. What you just said about, is everyone understanding this? That's a really great way in. I quite like that.
Yeah.
Could just be a hack or a tip.
Two life lessons. I think you kind of decide a bit early on in life what stuff's just going to let it go over your head. I would say in my early 20s, probably into my early 30s, I cared too deeply about everything. And at some point you just decide, like, I'm just going to let that wash over me.
I'm waiting for that.
And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh, this is so freeing. Now that I just don't care about that. So I think I wish I'd done that sooner. And just always pack snacks.
Always what?
Always pack snacks.
That's what I thought you said. Good. For you or your child?
Anyone
in the room?
There are moments in life that require sugar, and I will not leave the house without something in my bag, because you just think there'll be a moment where you just need it.
Yeah, it could be the most sensible life lesson we've had on this series. Amrit?
What I told my students, and I'm kind of living proof of it, is it's okay to change your mind if you should change careers and stuff. It's not the thing that you have to do forever and ever and ever, because that can be really daunting, but you can quit and retrain and do something else. And then please don't feel like you're an imposter, which is rich coming from me, because sometimes I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm a maths teacher. But yeah, it's okay to change your mind. So don't think that you have to do something forever and ever and ever, I think is a trap that so many people fall into.
Yeah, definitely. And don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you both very much. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Thank you.